Hey, how's it going? So, do you sometimes think about getting a virtual assistant? How do you find a great one? I mean, you can find lots of virtual assistants out there. It's not that hard, but how do you know that they're going to be a good one for you? And how do you know you can trust them? How do you know, all that stuff? So we're going to talk about that in a second, but first this. So the real question is this. What are the strategies, techniques, and tools that you need to learn to generate residual income from the e-learning boom that's happening right now? My name is Jean-Serge and welcome to Course Income Secrets. All right, so getting a VA is super important, getting an assistant. I mean, eventually, no matter what kind of business you're in, you're gonna need an assistant, or more than one, right? You're gonna need people to help you build your business, because let's face it, we're just one person, and there's only so much we can do as a single person, right? So, and plus, especially if you're like me and you've got a daytime job and you've got a family and you've got all these other projects you're working on and all that, it seems like you'll never have enough time to do your thing, to do your business, to build your business. So that's when you're going to need an assistant. Now, like I said in the post, I've been wanting to hire an assistant since the very beginning of my online journey, because seriously, there's a lot of things that I know that somebody else could do that isn't something that, and that's something I do every single day, and these processes that are basic things, but they need to get done. So hey, Angelo, thanks for watching. So getting a VA is going to help you to free your time to do the more important thing. It's the same thing as, say, for example, doing the lawn. I mean, if you're going to be making $100, $200, $500 an hour or something in your business eventually, whether it's at the start or whether you expect it to be after a while, well, it doesn't really make sense to spend 4 hours mowing your lawn when you could pay somebody $10 an hour, maybe $5 an hour, maybe $20 to get it all done, versus you wasting your time that's worth, I don't know, you can say it's worth $500 an hour. It doesn't really matter. You choose the value of your time based on how much you think you'll make eventually, and that's kind of how you judge whether you should be doing a certain thing or not, depending on how much you can pay somebody to do it, right? So same thing with your virtual assistant. Like me, I've gotten a virtual assistant now, which she's doing awesome. She's doing things like, creating my emails that go to my list from my blog posts, creating my blog posts from my videos. She's going through in my social media, liking and commenting on, well, not like basic comments, things like that's great or looks yummy, or things that she knows that I do all the time. We had conversations about that. So she does these things that, I don't know, she spends about an hour a day doing things for me. So over a week, it's 5 hours, right? So you might be thinking, oh my God, that's going to be expensive paying somebody, because you can hire somebody for probably $10 to $20 an hour to do that kind of stuff in the States and Canada. But this is the thing: you find somebody in a country that the cost of living is lower, and they're willing to take less, and anyways. So here's the thing. So I was saying I'm going to tell you what I did. So how did I find this person, and how do I know that they could be trusted, and how did I do that, right? So this is what I did. All right. So number one, first of all, I decided I'm going to go to the countries that have a lower cost of living. Now, there's a website, I forget the name, but just Google that, cost of living in country X or something, and you'll see that they have a whole bunch of different levels, and shows you price of things and whatever, right? So, but the countries, the best country really that I found is the Philippines. And the reason for that is because in the Philippines, their education system includes in English, so most everybody there does speak good English, because you can find lots of other countries, but they don't speak very good English, right? Like India, for example, is another country that would be great for that, but typically it's hard to find somebody who has good English there, at least somebody who's willing to take a low payment, right? There's also Morocco, anyways, like I said, there's a lot of other countries, and sometimes it's hard to find somebody who speaks English. That's why Philippines is my favorite. So what I did, then I posted on a Facebook group, Philippines work from home job, right? There's a bunch of groups like that. So I just posted in there saying, I'm looking for a virtual assistant. You know, I said, I could look the post up, but, you know, I said something like, if you know how to do social media, if you know how to paste on Facebook, if you know how to cut and paste, if you know this, like I listed a few things, then, you know, comment below and I'll send you an application, right? Now, remember, social media, you want engagement, because if you just post a link right there in your post, you're not going to get too many people that will actually see that, because Facebook doesn't want to show posts with links. The other thing is, you won't get, the engagement won't happen because people will just click the link. But if you ask them to comment, first of all, you'll know that they follow direction a little bit. And secondly, by adding their comments and your comment and telling them you're sending them a private message, that kind of stuff, it adds to the engagement and the post gets seen by more people, right? So don't forget that. So that's one thing I did. The second thing I did is I created a hidden blog post on my site. If you go to my site /VA, I think, it's basically, I told them to go there. And on that page, I list what the responsibilities are, what I'm looking for a person, and I tell them what to do to apply. And I say, you know, send me an email, give me details of, you know, how much you expect to be paid, what kind of hours you can put in, you know, anyways, things like that. So for me, it was like, okay, I got to find somebody who's going to actually, you know, reply, who's going to follow direction, and they're going to do that. Then the next thing I did, number 3, was I did a Zoom session with them. So now, out of all the applications I had, out of, I don't know, maybe 50 people asked to get the information in the post in Facebook. Out of those 50, I had maybe like, I just had like, I think 5 people, or maybe 10. 5 to 10 people send me an email, right? And out of those, there's only, I think 3 that I responded back and they replied back. So we had a conversation. And out of those 3, I had 2 Zoom sessions scheduled with 2 people. Now, I could have done more, I could have tried to meet more, and in the end, out of the 2, I picked 1, right? And actually, to be totally transparent, one of them didn't even show up at their Zoom session. They were late by like 5 minutes, and then I just canceled it, and then I got an email from them saying, hey, I'm waiting for you, like 7 minutes after I started the thing, right? So I just, like, if you can't even, you know, be on time, I can't see you being, you know, on time and doing things and whatever, right? So that's the thing. So now the person that I did choose, I had another Zoom session before actually hiring her, and we talked about, you know, what her skills were, how she could help me, what the kinds of things I needed to do. I wanted to make sure that she understood. I wanted to know that she could speak English well, that she understood English, that she understood what I was asking. She did really, really good. Of course, the next part is securing your accounts. Now, the thing that I figured, here's the thing. When you're running a business and you're hiring somebody and they come into your office, you give them a key to the door, or maybe you've got a cash there, you trust them with that. I mean, anybody can steal things, but in the end, you're running a business. You gotta trust, you gotta make that risk, take that risk, right? So this person could have been somebody who wasn't trustworthy, but at the same time, so what I did to kind of secure things is I set up an account on LastPass so that she could get my passwords without seeing them in the browsers, right? So she could log in, and that way, if anything happened, I didn't like it after, you know, a week or something, I could just change my passwords, and then she wouldn't have access to them, right? And so that's the extent of what you can do. The other thing is the social media, like on YouTube and on Aweber and on ManyChat, I gave her admin account access, which isn't, you know, my password, right? So that way, for those ones, again, I could just shut it off. And so I know this was a longer video. I did this because I wanted to go through the process. Like I said, I created a post in the Facebook group in Philippines work from home. The other thing I did is I created a blog post with listing of what I'm expecting them to do, and asked them to send me an email with the details so I knew they were serious. And number 3, I did a Zoom session with them to find out about their English and make sure they can talk, they're a good fit. And then of course number 4 is I used a tool to secure my account passwords. All right, hope you enjoyed this video, and if you know anybody who needs to hear this message, then of course please go ahead and share. I'm sure they'd appreciate it, and I would too, and we'll see you in the next video. Have yourself a great day.